What's up, everybody? This is the PlayStation Lifestyle Underground podcast. We are an unofficial podcast of PlayStationLifestyle.net. I am Hugo Stiglitz. You can find me on PSN as Hugo Stiglitz _420. And, hey, Steve, you want to say hello?
Yeah, sure. I'm Steve Bitto. I'm the community manager for PlayStation Lifestyle. You can find me on the PlayStation Network as TYLERxDURDEN and on the PlayStation Lifestyle forums as Steven Bitto.
Awesome. And lately, I've been playing Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Just came out the other night, and I've been really enjoying it. I've been playing a lot. I'm almost near the end, and yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it so far. And I'm just hoping that, you know, the story ties together nicely, because I'm still very confused on what is actually going on. But yeah, it's been a great journey so far, either way. Also been playing Rocket League here and there for sure. Pretty much is every day almost, it seems. Been playing a lot of F1 2015. I've been streaming it too. So sometimes, I don't know, I have a lot of fun streaming just because it makes me focus on the game and just play it instead of getting interrupted every 2 seconds, which is really fun.
Right.
Actually, yeah, like I don't know if it's like that for you, but when I know someone's watching, I just want to focus on the game and just keep playing instead of taking breaks, which, you know, you can have some really great game sessions and you get really into the game that way, so which is what I really like about it. So I'm probably going to stream a lot more often, even though people usually don't comment or anything, but it always says someone's watching. So but also been playing Last of Us Remastered.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Did our talk last week get you back in the Last of Us mood?
Actually, no. It you know that channel where they have like teenagers and like old people react to video games and other stuff?
Yep.
I've been watching their playthrough of The Last of Us, because they're actually doing a full-on playthrough of it, and just watching that just got me into it, because I usually don't watch playthroughs. I usually find them wicked boring, but there's something like just so cool about watching regular kids, like teenagers, play it, and because it's like they went from being complete noobs, not knowing how to do anything, and now they can actually kind of play it. It's actually pretty interesting, and I mean, plus it's just an awesome game, anyways, and it's one of those games where seeing the reactions to it is always really cool, because, you know, some of the crazy moments that it has, it's just like, I find it hilarious watching people react to it, because they're like just dumbfounded. Like it reminds me of how I was when I first played the game, because yeah, it's an amazing game. But yeah, other than that, I have been playing The Last Tinker. I'm still trying to finish that up. Really awesome game. A little bit of Project Cars, and I tried out that Lara Croft Temple of Osiris game. It's actually pretty cool. Have you tried it out at all yet?
No, I haven't. I downloaded everything so far from the PlayStation Plus games of the month, but I have yet to try them. I've actually been at my girlfriend's out on the other side of town for the past couple days, which has been killing me, because like you were talking about, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I pre-ordered that, so I had that, and I had Limbo, I had Journey, I had Lara Croft and Temple of Osiris, all that stuff downloaded, but since I've been out there, I haven't been able to play anything, so it's been eating at me all week long.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it did take me a couple days to finally try the Lara Croft thing, but yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's a twin stick shooter, which I usually like, and the graphics are actually really good. Also, I did play a little bit of Limbo. I've played that game several times already. It's a short game, but it's a really good one. So yeah, but that's actually pretty much it for me. Yeah. So you said you haven't been playing too much. Have you had time to play anything, or?
Not really. I played Limbo a little bit at the start of the week.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the third time I'm playing it myself.
Yeah.
I just love the mood of it, and I love the puzzles. So I played it actually on PS3. Awesome. I played it on Vita,
Yep.
And then I'm gonna play it on PS4 now too.
Yeah, me too. I played it a couple times on PS3, Vita. I really loved like the puzzles towards the end, like, and just all of them actually. Like they're all good, but especially like some of the ones towards the end, they get like really difficult and really cool. And even when you know them, it's still like not super easy to execute them. You know what I mean? So like it's a really good game, really cool, and the pacing's really good. Also, speaking of Vita, I forgot to mention. I have been playing. Well, I was playing the other day Uncharted 2 through PS Now, and God, I just love that game, and I think it's really cool that the PS Now allows me to play that on the Vita, just because I mean it's just a really cool thing. Like sitting while I was at lunch break at work, I pretty much played that for my entire lunch, and
how does it look?
Incredible. Like it, it looks like as good as remote play, pretty much.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like it looks really really nice. It plays pretty well. I mean, it's not perfect, like especially because I've been having a little bit of connection issues with my cell phone Wi-Fi thing, but otherwise it's amazing. And like I'm pretty far in the game. Like I got through the part with the train, and now like I just how you do the mountaineering part with Tenzin and stuff, and so I just got through that part, and now I'm at that big temple that you gotta do all the platforming in and yeah, I just love that game. And also on the PSP, I've been playing a lot of that F1 game still as well. But yeah, I always forget to mention the handhelds, which I do use a lot, but it's I usually somehow forget to mention those. But all right, yeah, this week we wanted to talk about non-PlayStation stuff. Personally, I do mostly play on PlayStation, but I also play on PC quite a bit. There are some exclusives on PC that I do like. Most of them are racing simulators, like Assetto Corsa, really hardcore racing sim, and it's got a really incredible like driving physics and force feedback. So that that's one of the main reasons I play it. Also, iRacing, which is another racing sim. It's got probably the best online racing community there is. Just, I mean, it's not even the community per se, but it's just the way they have it set up. Like every driver has a safety rating, so basically you can't go around hitting people. Like you have to race really clean, and just the way they have it set up, it's almost like you're really racing in real life. Like because the car damage is always on, and if you get into little bumps and stuff, like you got to go pit and repair, and you might be waiting there for a couple minutes for repairs. So it's like it really just teaches everyone to race as they would in real life, and as a result, it just makes for an incredible online racing experience. There are definitely some ways it could be improved though, so that's why I don't play it a ton lately. But and of course old games, like that's another awesome thing about PC is like you can pretty much remaster games yourself. Like we get a lot of remastered games on PS4 this generation, which I love. But the games that we don't get, if they're on PC, you can just play them on PC and configure the graphics to the maximum yourself. And I find that's really cool. Like, and, especially if you want to just replay a game that you've already played. I mean, the only disappointing thing is that it is limited to multi-platforms. But that's one really cool aspect of PC gaming that I'm sure a lot of people do use for their PCs, but that's one of those are the two main things I enjoy the most about PC. Because other than that, I'm not real into the exclusives on there. Now, do you do any PC gaming at all?
No, I don't. I actually I was a huge StarCraft kid growing up, like in middle school and maybe high school. I think just middle school probably. But I've always enjoyed it. Picked it up and played it every now and again, on my whatever PC I had at the time. And then I picked up a more powerful laptop so I could play StarCraft 2. And I bought it and installed it, started playing a little bit, and I just couldn't get into it. It was a little too complicated for compared to the old one, for me. So I never really got into it. And then obviously with those, if you can't really get into the story, like you're not gonna have any fun playing online. You're not gonna be competitive at all. So I actually that was probably it for me. My brother still plays online quite a bit for that and for like games like Diablo, but yeah, I couldn't ever really get into PC gaming.
Yeah, that's kind of what got me into PC gaming. It's like I got myself a laptop a couple years ago because I just needed it for school and stuff, and um, I've pretty much always been into like Gran Turismo and stuff, and I always wanted to try or get for myself the PC sims because there are quite a bit of them, and they're a little bit more hardcore than the stuff on console, and a lot of them would actually run on my laptop, and my laptop's kind of a piece of crap too. But it's just that a lot of those games were based on like DX9 or even less, so you don't need a super powerful PC to run them. Also, I played like stuff like Half-Life 2. I mean, I know I mentioned that last week. I love that game. Portal, both that's another game that'll run on even a basic laptop. So yeah, it's a decent platform, but I definitely disagree with all the master race stuff. Like even with the better specs, I would still just rather play on a console. It's just there's a lot of problems that can come up with on PC. Like I've had a lot of issues with games either not wanting to launch and me having to edit config files just to get them to launch and stuff. Like there's mostly older games. A lot of the newer games work fine. Also, it's like some older games like Crisis 1. If you put it in full screen and use VSync, which I need, like I can't stand screen tearing, like especially the kind you get on PC because it's considerably worse than some of the tearing we get on console. It locks it to 24 hertz. So basically, I'm getting 24 FPS, which is incredibly sluggish, and it's just like unplayable basically, unless I put it in windowed mode. But I also hate windowed mode. I'm not sure why, but it just seems totally different, and it's just like I don't know. So there's a lot of hassles on PC. So it's like I'm not sure I get why people love it so much as a platform and defend it like as if it's infallible. But
yeah, I don't know. I feel like kind of like the things you were pointing out, I feel like if you're the type of person who knows how to optimize every single game and get the absolute best experience out of every single game, like I could see the benefits of it. But for like an average person who just wants to pick up like a controller, or even if you know how to use a keyboard and just play a game, I mean, console is obviously the way to go. Like you just put in the game, you download whatever updates is, and it plays.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Barring any issues with the game itself, but I mean the PlayStation is going to play the games you put in it. I mean that's just how it works,
I mean it's extremely rare that we have any problems with like games crashing or just not working or having anything close to the problems you can have on PC. And that's another thing is like not all PC games support controller, which can be another issue. Like you have to either use keyboard and mouse or use controller for the games that support it, and that's another annoyance because it's like I did use a lot of keyboard and mouse when I first started PC gaming, but now I've got to the point where I just don't even want to. Also because I finally figured out that there are programs that let you use a PlayStation computer on PC, and it just tricks the computer into thinking it's a 360 controller, so more games will support it. Because there's a ton of games that don't support the PS4 or PS3 controllers out of the box. But luckily, people made programs, like I have this one called the DS4 tool. All I have to do is connect the controller, click it, and then I'm good. Like, whatever game supports controller will just think it's an Xbox controller, and it'll work perfectly fine. But not all games support it. And sometimes that'll, like, stop me from being able to get into a game. So it's, like, another issue with PC. But, I mean, it's definitely a cool platform. And, I mean, like, especially if you're into racing sims or flight sims, I mean, you pretty much have to have one because, like, all the best stuff is there. Or maybe not the best, but, like, there's so much good stuff on PC. And there are some good like regular game type exclusives on there. Like, you know, like a lot of horror games too, which is really cool. Like I really like horror games, and this seems to be a lot on PC, which is, you know, so it's definitely a good platform. But I personally prefer console, even if it was Xbox One. Like if I didn't have a PS4 and I had to choose between PC and Xbox One, I would go with the Xbox One. What do you think? Would you do the same?
Between PC and Xbox One?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely go with the Xbox One. Just because a controller feels like natural to me. I like playing on the television. And not that you can't do those things on a PC, but I just prefer that route.
Yeah, I just prefer like the whole experience of the console, and although my PC is actually hooked up to the same exact TV I have my consoles hooked up to, I also use the same, well, not the same exact controller. I use my other PS4 controller for it, but it's it's a PS4 controller either way. So that's not a huge issue for me. Like I'm not hunkered over a desk like a lot of people are with their PC gaming. But I still just like the console experience better. It's just more social. It's just so much smoother and more reliable of an experience, and I find it's just much easier to get into, and it's just much easier to get into the game. Like, you know, you don't have to do much at all other than just play your games.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying, was that like it's just dedicated to games only. You know, yeah, it has the entertainment stuff, but that's kind of like separate, and that's not going to interfere with the game stuff. You know, you put in your disc, and if you want to play it, you click it. You know, it'll install what it has to, and then you're in the game. You know, if there's ever an update, it tells you what update the whole system will need to do anything. You download that one update, and then you're ready to go. You know, there's not a bunch of different updates to this, update to that. Will this update talk to this update? They both need to work together, you know? Yeah. All that type of stuff for like sound drivers and visual stuff, and it's so much more simple, and kind of all that stuff's kind of taken care of for you with a console, and that's why I like it.
Yeah, that's another thing I forget is updating your graphics drivers. That can also be a pain. Like, I recently had some big problems with my computer because there was some kind of error going on with the graphics driver, and like multiple times I had to literally take my graphics card out of the computer just to get the thing to display on my screen so that I could try to fix the problem. Eventually I did fix it, but it was like nothing was working and everything was going wrong. Like it was driving me nuts, and it's like that's just one of the many problems. And it's like I know my way around a computer. Like I'm really good with computers, but it's just it's just not something I would prefer to do. Like I'd rather just avoid all that. I mean, plus every time you do start a game, even if you have like a super powerful rig, you're still going to have to configure the graphics to some degree, which on one hand is really cool, because say if you're like me and you prefer to have the highest resolution possible and the highest anti-aliasing possible rather than having, you know, the best special effects and stuff. Like it seems like developers on console differ in their approach. Like it seems like Battlefield, specifically like DICE, they try to go for the best effects and the best settings possible, and that's why a couple of their games are 900p. Personally, if I was setting those games up, I would never do that. It would be 1080p no matter what, and then I'd have the effects as high as I could go without losing the frame rate. So it's like, it is cool that on PC you can make that decision instead of it being taken out of your hands like it was for like Watch Dogs and, you know, Battlefield. Like there's only like 5 900p games on PS4, but the few that I do have, it does bother me. Like so it's like that is, you know, one of the reasons I do prefer a PS4, like, because if I only had an Xbox One, there are quite a bit of games that are 900p or even worse. I can't even believe there's some that are 720p, but there is. That would legitimately bother me. So that's why I did go with PS4, but I do think the Xbox One is a great console. It doesn't have a ton of stuff as far as like exclusive that I would like, but But I would absolutely love to play the Halo Master Chief Collection. I've only played the first one, and for as far as single player, and I really did enjoy it. And I've never enjoyed the multiplayer, but I thought the single player was awesome, and I really like sci-fi. So it's a series I've always wanted to get into, and that Halo Master Chief Collection just seems like the perfect way to do it. So it's like that's one thing that has me tempting to get an Xbox. Forza Horizon 2 is another one. Like I've always really liked open world racing games, and I know that's a good one. It has not like simulation car handling, but it's at least realistic enough to where it's gonna be fun for me. Like, cause I'm not a big fan of the Need for Speed type arcade stuff or Burnout, but it's kind of like Drive Club on an open world. Like it's between simulation and arcade, and I love that. I think that's perfect for an open world racing game. So it's like that's another one I'd love to try. And Quantum Break looks awesome. I mean, I was a really big fan of Alan Wake. I played it on PC and really liked it. And Remedy as a developer, I have a lot of respect for, just because I mean that was just like a really really unique game as far as Xbox exclusives go. And
right.
So it's like I'm definitely interested in Quantum Break, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of Xbox exclusives I'd like to steal for PlayStation. What about you? I mean, what games would you love to see? As far as Xbox exclusives, like what games would you like to play the most?
Back in the 360 days, I always wanted Dead Rising 1. I remember my friends had all had Xboxes because I was kind of the outsider with the PS3. And I always wanted to play Dead Rising. That was fun. We used to kind of just, go as far as you could without dying, and then we'd switch the controller and just see all the shit you can do in the game.
Yeah.
But and that was a lot of fun. That was a cool little new thing because the zombie games had not really been done like that up to that point. Now it's kind of a dime a dozen type thing, but at the time that was really really cool to see. The other one is more current, and we were talking about that before. We recorded, and that was Sunset Overdrive. I played it at Riot Fest in Chicago last year before it came out, and it did definitely had some issues with the controls. I didn't like the locking on. I didn't like the sliding along the edges, similar to what you might do in Infamous. It was a little too arcadey. Like it just, you had to slide all everything to get anywhere, and it was kind of stupid actually to have to do that. The movement should have been more fluid. They should Infamous gives you many different ways to move Cole through the world. Cole or Delson. You either have your flight abilities, your glide abilities, your grinding abilities and stuff. But the grinding isn't the main part of the game. It makes sense when you do it on the rails.
Mm-hmm.
But grinding on everything and sliding on everything, it doesn't really make any sense to me. So that was actually really annoying. But overall, I thought the flavor of the game was really original, and I liked the look, I liked the music. And I would like to have that kind of creativity on the PS4 right now. We kind of haven't had too many of those yet. I'm sure they'll be coming though.
Oh yeah.
That might be it. Obviously, was it Knights of the Old Republic? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Star Wars Knights on Xbox regular.
Oh, you mean original Xbox? Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't on PlayStation 2?
No.
Oh wow. Huh.
Yeah, those were amazing though. Because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I actually bought an Xbox just to play those games.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was worth it. I loved them.
Yeah, I've always heard a lot of good things about that, and it's made by BioWare, right?
Yeah, actually, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe the story goes that Mass Effect 1 was supposed to be another Knights of the Old Republic until they lost the rights because of all the stuff going on at LucasArts at the time, and so they made it into their own IP, which ended up becoming BioWare, and EA published.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but most of the assets early on were Star Wars assets.
Yeah, yeah, there weren't really a ton of like original Xbox games I wanted to play. I mean, other than Halo, which I did play multiplayer back then, but I never liked it. Single player, I ended up playing Halo on PC because they did actually put out Halo 1 and 2 on PC. And I definitely really enjoyed Halo 1. But on Xbox 360, maybe the original Forza Horizon, but definitely Test Drive Unlimited 1. For whatever reason, they never put it out on PS3. Like, it was on PS2 and PSP, which I did have. I do have it on PSP, and it's a really incredible game, and it's pretty much the original open world racing and MMO type racing game. Like, because it's like The Crew, like, except it doesn't have to be always online, but it's basically, you have a gigantic map. It's the island of Oahu, and you'll run into other players that are online. Like, they'll just be driving around, just kind of, like how it is in The Crew. But it was just a really good racing game, and like the physics were awesome. It was just a really fun racing game, and like there's a massive map too. Like, I mean, I remember it took me like an hour to drive from one end to the other, literally, even in like a really fast car. And it's like that was an incredible racing game last gen that I don't think it got the credit that it deserved. I mean, luckily I did get to play it on PC and PSP and stuff, but I was always like kind of jealous that Xbox 360 had it, but PS3 didn't. And then like they came out with Test Drive Unlimited 2, but they kind of messed it up. Like the handling, the car handling was a little bit messed up compared to the first one. So that was a huge missed opportunity. And the Crews, it is very much in the spirit of those games. I think it is made by the same people, but that always online thing just kind of killed it for me. And like I am gonna get it when it's cheap though, because it's like a game that's always online, I just feel is not worth the full price. So that's but other than that, yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot on Xbox 360. Like I wasn't a fan of Gears. Like I tried it, I just didn't like it, and it's like I'm usually into that sci-fi stuff, but it's just like I just couldn't get into it. I just wasn't a big fan.
My two problems with the two big ones are Gears. I hated the big characters. I felt like they were big, clunky. I just hated that type of controls. It wasn't fun. I felt like they took up. And actually, that was one of my big problems with Batman Arkham Asylum, was that I felt Batman like just takes up too much of the screen. He's just like so big and hulking, like in the middle of the screen, fumbling around. So that I never really got into Gears for that reason. And then Halo, I'm kind of the opposite of you. I've got Halo 2 to play multiplayer, and I enjoyed that. And I thought the story was really dumb, and I could not get into it. Me and my brother played it together, and I did not enjoy it. But part of the problem was I had never played Halo 1.
Yeah.
And I've always meant to go back and play Halo 1, and I haven't.
Yeah, see, I liked Halo 1, like the story and just like the campaign was really, really cool, but I did hear a lot of bad things about Halo 2's campaign, and I heard that the ending sucked, which is a big problem for me. Like, I mean, now that I know it sucks, it probably won't be when I finally do play it, just because I'm expecting it, but normally if a game has a bad ending, that can ruin like the whole game for me. Like it kind of did with Resistance 3. Uncharted 3, and it's like those were such incredible games. Like when I was playing through Resistance 3, I was thinking this is possibly the best single player game I've ever played, and then the ending just completely sullied the entire thing. Same thing with Uncharted 3. It's like I was thinking, man, this game is better than Uncharted 2, and then they kind of sullied, and that wasn't meant to be a pun. But someone could take it as a pun, because a lot of it does have to do with Sully, and it's just like that kind of ruined it. I thought a little bit. I thought it was still an incredible game and it's still wicked fun to play through. But as far as the story, I just feel it just didn't get anywhere near Uncharted 2's.
It's funny. Some people with that. They like Uncharted 3 better because it's like breaks from the mold and kind of does something different and kind of gives you an ending that's more feasible and not supernatural. And I love the supernatural. I think I like the supernatural things that are based kind of in reality. Like that's what I love about it. Like Indiana Jones. That's what I love about Indiana Jones too. Like that's what makes it so great. I hated that it was just like kind of a dumb explanation, like a real world explanation.
Well, actually, the funny thing is that I found that was why I didn't like Uncharted 3's ending. Is I found the explanation for why Marlowe was, going across the world with an army to try to find this thing was so that they could get a chemical in the water. I found that way less feasible than, the sap of life or whatever it was called, the Jintamani stone, like, turning him into an invincible person. Like, I thought that made sense. Like, that is a reason to go across the world with an army searching for this thing. But for a little chemical that'll, like, make people live in fear or whatever it was doing and make so you can control them, I don't know, it just didn't seem to click. I don't know, it just seemed weird. Plus, the whole thing with Sully, I thought was really strange. Like, it didn't totally make sense to me. Like, I thought it was just weird. Like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm alive. It's like, what? What just happened?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, obviously. But, yeah, so that's what's funny. It's like I found, Uncharted 1, that, that supernatural ending too. I found that much more satisfying. And 2's as well. Like, like I actually found those a little more feasible than the more realistic 1 and 3. But I think one of the reasons that people love Uncharted 3 more, the few people who do, is just because I thought up until that point it was better than 2. Like, I really thought, like, the whole thing with going back in time with Nate, I thought that was incredible. Like, I thought that was really cool. Like, getting to see how Nate and Sully met, and I just thought the game was incredible. But it's just like I thought they kind of messed up the story at the end. That's all. And if they didn't do that, I probably would be saying that I think 2's better. But nope, I think 2's much better because they got it right. Like, I feel like, and I thought the gameplay wise, the ending of 2 was much better because that final boss fight was incredible, and the final boss fight with 3 was definitely not so great. Like, it was a lot of quick time, and it just didn't stack up anywhere near to as good as the boss fight in 2. I thought the set pieces were better. Like, like where you're jumping from platform to broken piece of ground to gross piece of ground while there's sand rushing below you, and you're kind of like just on a wave of sand that's rushing down, like on a waterfall, and like you're floating on it, but it's sand, and you're on basically stone flooring and walkways and stuff. Like, I thought that was the most incredible set piece I've seen. One of the best. But like, as far as the boss fight and the story part of it, I thought it kind of faltered and messed up the whole experience almost. Same thing with Gone Home. I thought that is like that. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it's like those developers were trolling everyone who played that game because the ending was just so like, who gives a shit, that it's like they couldn't have meant that for that to be the ending. Like, they must. Like, I swear they must have been trying to troll people. Like, just because it was like they build up so much tension and like so many like kind of horror type elements. Like, they build it up and then it just ends up being the most sappy, boring, anticlimactic ending ever. And I thought that ruined the whole experience. And it's like,
what game
that's
is
literally my most hated game that I've ever played. It's like, because it, yeah, like yeah, Gone Home, and a lot of people liked it a lot, but it's just like I feel like that ending killed the whole entire experience. I only spent $2 on it. I want my money back. Like,
I've actually never played it.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest it. Like I said, the ending is just such a buzzkill. Like, it's like the developers are trolling you. So wow, we just went off a pretty big tangent there.
Yeah, not to derail it too much, but kind of maybe bring us back a little bit. Is Tacoma coming to PS4 ever?
What's Tacoma? I don't even know what that is.
I believe that's a sequel to the people who made Gone Home. That's their next, not sequel, it's like their next game.
I'm not sure, but I'm not going to play it just because of their last game.
It's actually about like I think it's about like you're on a space station and
Oh.
like it's controlled by computer AI.
I mean, I do
And
like
something
space
must
games.
happen.
Apparently, it's coming to Xbox One and PC first, which is
Okay.
another reason for me to not want to buy it. This
Actually,
bastard.
I did hear on a podcast I was listening, and I think they said that it's coming to Xbox One and PC first, but that doesn't mean it's not coming to PlayStation later. They're just focused on those, getting those versions out, and then they see what happens.
Yeah.
Which that's the pretty
Um.
standard timed exclusive line.
Yeah. Man, I really don't like timed exclusives. Like, even though like PS4 has a lot of them too, I just wish that whole practice would just die. To be honest, even when it favors us, I just don't like it. But back to you know Xbox and stuff. Yeah, how do you feel about the Xbox controller?
I don't like it,
Me neither.
but I think it's kind of just what you're used to. You know, if someone gets used to something and then the different one is the one they don't like.
I mean, I think there's a lot of that for a lot of people, but personally, I just don't. I just don't like it. Like I have a couple of main issues with it. Number one is I really don't like the offset analogs. Like I really don't like that. Like I don't understand why it's there in the first place. Last time I checked, my hands are symmetrical, so why would the controller be asymmetrical? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and the other part I don't like about it is it kind of puts the left analog off to the side, but like I have said before, like I play Southpaw, so it's like to me the left analog is the more important one. So I think it's kind of weird that they kind of put it off to the side, like it's you know not as I don't even know if that's actually the case, but it just kind of seems like it. It's like they have the right one close to you, so you can I don't know if if that has any effect on the way you play, but I just find it kind of weird that they would offset one of them, um, as if like one of them is like only meant to be for moving around, while the other one is for aiming, and like I don't know if that's what their philosophy was in designing it, but I just don't like it. Also, the D pads are notoriously bad. Um, I did think that the 360 controller, like the grips, I thought were better than the PS3's. Although I never had an issue with the grips on the PS3. I do think that the 360 had better grips. The triggers were better for some things, but I actually ended up kind of liking the PS3 triggers when I started using my middle finger as a trigger finger. But overall, I thought that the Xbox 360's ones are good. But for the Xbox One, the main issue I have with the controller is the sticks themselves, not their position. But for one, the nub that you actually touch with your thumb is wicked small. Like it's almost as small as the PS Vita nub, except it's not concave. So it's like I just really don't like it, and it's also very loose. Like the sticks are very loose, which is weird because that was one thing I always liked about the 360 controllers. The sticks had more tension, which I feel is better. Like because the PS3 sticks were pretty loose, and that was one thing I didn't like about it. But the Xbox Ones, they're not only loose, but they got these tiny little thumbsticks, and I don't like that whatsoever. Also, Xbox 360 and Xbox One, they have a bigger dead zone than PlayStation controllers have, and that's another thing I don't like. Like I think actually the dead zone in the PS4 controller alone is already a little too big for my liking. Like I really like there to be almost no dead zone. But it's even worse on Xbox One, and it just makes it like to do really fine adjustments, like especially if you're playing a shooter, it just makes them that much harder. Like it's almost kind of like having input lag because you're moving the stick and you might go too far, and you move it back, you might go far again. It just makes it harder to make those fine adjustments, and um, yeah, that's just something I don't like. And the rumble triggers that it has, they have rumble on the triggers for the Xbox One. I actually thought that was a brilliant idea, and I think it's still maybe for certain games, but I tried it with Forza 5, and I actually thought it was terrible, like, because it makes it much harder for you to control how far you have the thing pressed in, and that makes it much harder to control the throttle. And like, so I think that's actually like kind of a big problem, like, because especially, even in a game like Forza Horizon, I mean Forza 5, and even in a game like Drive Club, throttle control is super important. So I think it's kind of fun. Like, I thought that was one of the best ideas they came up with the controller, and ended up just completely backfiring because I think the main purpose of it was for racing games, and I actually don't like it at all for racing games. I think it would probably be better for shooting games though. Like, I think that'd actually be pretty cool, like to have the trigger rumble if you're shooting like a really big gun, in addition to the controller itself. But yeah. Other than that, like, I'm definitely not a fan of the double A's either. Like, I think it's crazy that they still have that, but not only that, they also still have some of the headset issues that they had. Like, you have to buy a separate kit to plug in a headset and stuff. Like that's just crazy to me. Like, although I do think they're fixing that on new controllers, but they still have batteries though, which is kind of funny.
Right. Yeah, that I find that extremely annoying.
That would drive me nuts. Like, it already is a big enough pain that the PS4's controller dies pretty often. But if I had to like actually have double A's to put in them, that would just, even if they were rechargeable, that would just be really, really annoying. And I was really surprised that they stuck with that. And even that, I think that $150 Xbox Elite controller, $150 for a controller, and you guys still can't put in a battery pack. But it's like, I
know, for real.
I don't want to be bashing Xbox because I really do think it's a good console, and I would gladly take one. I mean, I'm probably gonna buy one someday too. So it's like, I don't want to talk like bad about the Xbox. I do actually like it, and I do like some of the exclusive games. But yeah, it's just there are some issues, and there definitely are some reasons why I prefer PlayStation. But Nintendo. It's a similar story. Like, I don't think the Wii U is a terrible console. It's just that it doesn't have a lot of games that I want to play. Like, I definitely would love to play Mario Kart 8 and that new Zelda game that is coming out at some point. And like, just those alone, I think it would be cool to have a Wii U. Just
yeah, I don't know. I kind of do think the Wii U is a terrible console. I think it was terribly. Yeah, I think they were just really poorly thought out piece of hardware. I had a problem with the Wii because I felt like it was so underpowered. But for now that I'm a little bit older, I see that it was just like a genius business move to undercut the market, because the PS3 was $600 at launch.
Yeah.
So by like undercutting that in the Xbox 360, like they kind of cordoned off their own piece of the market, and that's why they sold so many consoles, because the gap was so big between the two. But people were still having fun with it. But the Wii U, I mean, it's almost as much it's more than a PS3 and 360, but just slightly less expensive than the Xbox One and PS4, yet it is not as good as the PS3 and 360, and not even close to the level of PS4 and Xbox One.
Do you mean like power or specs wise?
Well, no. I mean, on the Xbox 360 PS3 side, like, it has some of their games, but not nearly as many as games as those two. Like PS3 and Xbox One, or Xbox 360, excuse me, have like such a deep library. So to be competitive with those, like, why would you buy unless you want just Mario games? Like, why would you buy a Wii U if it's competing with PS3 and Xbox 360? And then, of course, if it's competing with PS4 and Xbox One, you'd be insane to go with a Wii U just based on its extremely weak, and just by launching something that weak, its longevity is, no matter what you argue, it's going to be much shorter than the PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah.
So what are you really investing in?
Because the support has been dwindling for a long time, and it is kind of like, it is kind of messed up how like badly it is done. And I think that, like, although they made a ton of money off Wii, like it was never going to last. Like, and I think although they made a ton of money then, I think it was kind of the wrong decision because it was clearly never going to last. Like, I mean, most of the people that bought those Wii's used them for a little while and then just stopped. I mean, that's why their software sales were horrible, and then like their console sales stopped pretty quickly. Like they didn't sell many consoles after like the first year or so.
Just to keep going on like the Wii U's strategy and why I disagree with it so much is that just from a price point alone, it was way too comparable with the PS4 and Xbox One. The Wii regular, that really separated itself. It was half the price of the PS3, the 60 gigs. So, if you're in the store, there's a huge difference between these two units. Yeah, this one's not as powerful, but is the PS3 really worth two of these? Yeah, maybe not. But the Wii U, I mean, no one's saying like they look at the PS4, they look at the Wii U. No one's saying that they think the Wii U is like the discount is really worth it. Just for the handful of first party games that are worth playing.
Yeah, that's true, and also like the whole gamepad thing. Like, I think it is kind of cool that they gave you that big, the gamepad thing, but to not have a regular controller with it, I think is kind of crazy. Because using just as a controller, that gamepad thing is horrible. Like, it's not like for any serious kind of games, that is not a good way to play. Like that big ass gamepad thing. Like, although it is cool for remote play type stuff or second screen type things, but as far as like actual playing, I don't think it's good at all.
And really, like, here's the kind of the follow up to that too, is that the Wii, love or hate the Wiimote, it was something like adults and kids could get their heads around. You know, just like the traditional controller was, like with the NES and SNES. That's something an adult can get their head around and pick up and play a Mario game. The Wiimote, as lame as it kind of was, an adult can pick that up and play, Mario Tennis or whatever, and they can figure it out no problem. The tablet, I'm not so sure that an adult can pick that up and kind of figure out what's going on in the second screen with the main screen and like the heaviness of the controller. It's so big and bulky, they don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And little kids the same way. Like, it's not something little kids are going to pick up and just be like, oh, yeah, I get this.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of experience with the UI either. Like, have you used it? Like, is it bad? Is it good? I don't even know.
I actually haven't used it myself.
Yeah.
It's probably a huge step in the right direction for Nintendo, but, I mean, at the same time, if it's still... Like I said, if the price is similar between the PS4 and Xbox One and the UI is not nearly as good, then, I mean, the choice is obvious.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I guess that the sales have spoken for themselves.
Yeah, it does kind of suck because Nintendo is never going to release their games on anything else. But at the same time, it's not worth it to spend full price on a Wii U, for sure. Like, it just isn't. Some people will do it if they really, really like those games. I really, really loved my Nintendo 64, and I feel like it's a shame that, although they are still making their exclusive games like they would have if there was still that kind of competing console, it's just a shame that they don't have a console that truly competes with PlayStation and Xbox, because actually I never even had a PS1. I just was on my N64 that whole generation, and I loved it. I loved their exclusives, and I think it's a shame that we got games like, Zelda coming out and it's only going to be on Wii U, because it's like, who's going to buy a Wii U just for that? I mean, unless you can get it cheap. So it is definitely a shame, and it's like they do have some cool games on it. For sure. Like that, I think there's another game, I think it was like Xenoblade, or it used to be called Just X or something. That's another game that looks really cool. Mario Kart 8, like I mentioned, I've played that. That's actually really awesome. I loved Mario Kart on the 64, but yeah, it's just nothing that I would buy a console for. And also it seems like the whole market has given up on the thing as well. Like Project Cars was actually planned for Wii U, and then they just gave up on it pretty much. Like just because they couldn't get it to run well enough, apparently, which I kind of think that they just didn't think it was worth it. I think they could have got it running on it, but they just chose not to. But it's like, yeah, even the games planned for it are sometimes dropping off. Like even when they intend to put it on the Wii U, they just give up just because it's just not a huge market. And all right, so I've been having some, I don't know, issues with my PS4, my router. I don't know what's going on. I keep getting kicked out of the party chat, so we're gonna have to wrap up the podcast. But thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.